Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. The sun had barely risen, and the city was still bathed in the soft hues of dawn when my phone buzzed violently against the nightstand. Groggy and disoriented, I reached for it, squinting at the glaring screen. The number was unknown, but something compelled me to answer. Hello? Is this Mark Sullivan? The voice on the other end was unfamiliar, edged with urgency. Yes, speaking. Who is this? The caller hesitated, then took a deep breath, as if preparing to dive into deep water. You don't know me, but I have information about your wife, Claire. She's not been faithful to you. I sat up, suddenly wide awake. What are you talking about? Who are you? My name isn't important, he insisted. What matters is that I've seen her with another man. Not just once, but many times. At hotels, restaurants. Look, I can prove it. I have pictures, messages. A cold fist seemed to close around my heart. Claire had been distant lately, her excuses flimsy. Could it be true? Why are you telling me this? I managed to ask, my voice a mix of confusion and anger. Because I think you deserve to know the truth. I can meet you today. There's a cafe downtown, the Gilded Scone. Noon. Why should I trust you? My skepticism wrestled with the swirling suspicions. You don't have to trust me, he said simply. Just come and see the evidence for yourself. Then decide. The line went dead, leaving me staring at my phone. The quiet of the morning was suddenly oppressive, each tick of the clock a loud echo in the empty room. Could Claire really be betraying me? With a shaky breath, I swung my legs off the bed and stood up. I needed to see the truth for myself. By noon, I was walking through the doors of the Gilded Scone, my heart pounding in my chest. The cafe was quaint, with rustic decor and a comforting smell of coffee and baked goods. I scanned the room and saw him immediately, a man in his late 30s, his dark hair slightly disheveled, nursing a cup of coffee. He looked up as I approached, his eyes sharp and calculating. Mark Sullivan? He asked, standing up to greet me. His handshake was firm, but there was a nervous energy about him. Yes. You have something to show me. Without a word, he slid an envelope across the table. I opened it, my hands trembling. Inside were photographs, Claire, unmistakable in her red winter coat, laughing with a man I didn't recognize. The intimacy in their gestures was undeniable. How did you get these? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I'm a private investigator, he revealed. The man she's with, I was following him for a different case when I stumbled upon their relationship. Why come to me? Why not go to him? He sighed, looking away for a moment. Because I think there's more at stake here than just a simple affair. What do you mean? I pressed, my curiosity piqued despite the turmoil inside. I believe they're involved in something bigger. Something dangerous. And you might be in danger too. The revelation hit me like a wave. Danger? What had Claire gotten herself into? We need to find out exactly what's going on, he said, his voice low and urgent. Are you in? I looked down at the photographs again, a mix of anger and heartbreak coursing through me. Then, steeling myself, I met his gaze. Yes. I'm in. Let's find out the truth. As we plotted our next steps, the cafe buzzed around us, oblivious to the storm that was about to break. The cafe hummed with the midday rush as we huddled over our table, piecing together what little we knew. The private investigator, whose name was Tom, had laid out several documents and photos in front of us, each snapshot a frozen moment of Claire's duplicity. Who is he? I asked, pointing to the man in the photos with Claire. His face was vaguely familiar, perhaps someone I'd seen at one of her office parties. His name is Eric Dalton, Tom replied, scrutinizing another photo. Works in the same building as your wife. But here's where it gets interesting. He paused, pulling up a diagram on his laptop. He's not just a coworker. He's involved in some shady deals. I think Claire might be too, either willingly or unknowingly. My stomach churned. Claire had mentioned Eric before, always casually, but something clicked now, a hidden relevance in each mention. We need to talk to him. Confront him, I said, my voice firm with resolve. Tom nodded. I arranged a meeting. He thinks I'm still following the other case, but we'll surprise him. The cafe door swung open, letting in a gust of cold air and a tall, broad-shouldered man who matched Eric's description. His confident stride faltered when he saw us waiting. Tom gestured for him to join us, his face unreadable. Eric, thanks for coming, Tom began as Eric sat down, his eyes flicking between us. This is Mark, Claire's husband. Eric's face drained of color, his composure slipping. I didn't know she was married, he stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. You've been seeing my wife, I cut in, not masking my accusation. It's not what you think, Eric hurried to explain. Yes, we were together, but it was never serious. I thought we were both just, escaping reality for a bit. Escaping? With illegal activities. Tom interjected sharply. Eric's eyes widened in genuine surprise. What? No, I don't know what you're talking about. I swear it was just drinks, dinners, that sort of thing. Tom and I exchanged a glance. We have reason to believe there's more going on. We've seen you two at a few interesting locations, Tom pushed, showing Eric another batch of photos. Eric leaned in, studying them closely. His brow furrowed. I remember these days, but I swear, I didn't know she was married. And anything illegal, that's not me. Then help us understand, I urged, feeling the weight of my crumbling marriage in my chest. Help us clear this up. Eric nodded, taking a deep breath. Okay. Look, there was one time she mentioned needing to get some money together for something big. Said it was for a friend in trouble. Asked me if I knew anyone who could help. I didn't think much of it at the time. Do you know who she might have contacted? Tom asked, his detective instincts kicking in. I don't know names. She kept it vague. But I got the sense it was someone above me, someone at the company, maybe our supervisor, Steve. Tom scribbled down the name. Steve. I'll look into it. As Eric left, promising to stay out of Claire's life, Tom and I planned our next move. The mystery was deepening, branching into avenues neither of us had expected when we first sat down today. We need to be careful, Tom warned as we parted ways outside the cafe. If there's something illegal going on, poking around could get dangerous. I nodded, feeling the weight of his words. The drive home was a blur, my mind racing with the betrayal, the lies, and the looming threat of unknown dangers. Claire's deceit was more than just an affair, it was a tangled web that I was only just beginning to unravel. I don't sleep much that night. The silence of our bedroom is heavier, charged with the secrets now lodged between Claire and me. The faint glow of the street lamp filters through the blinds, casting long shadows across the room where she lies oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. The next morning, I leave before Claire wakes. There's a cold determination in my steps as I drive to her office building under the overcast sky. I've arranged to meet Tom there. He believes we might catch some of our key players unawares early in the day. I find Tom in the bustling cafe across from Claire's office, his eyes scanning the crowd. He motions me over when he spots me. Any updates? I ask, sliding into the booth. Yeah, Tom starts, his voice low. I did some digging on Steve, the supervisor. He's clean on paper, but there are rumors about him, some big financial moves that don't add up. We need to tread carefully. As we talk, the cafe door swings open and Claire walks in, flanked by Eric and a man I assume is Steve. My heart sinks further. She's laughing, carefree, and the sight cuts deeper than I anticipate. There they are, Tom murmurs, nodding subtly toward the trio. Didn't expect to see them together after what Eric said. We watch as they order their coffee and find a table. Claire looks relaxed, laughing at something Steve says. The normalcy of it stings. We need to confront her now, I say, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. Tom hesitates, then nods. All right, let's do it. We stand and make our way to their table. Claire's smile fades when she sees me, her eyes flickering with surprise and then concern. Mark, what? We need to talk, I interrupt, my gaze steady on hers. Eric looks between us, uneasy, while Steve observes with a cool detachment. Not here, Mark. Please, Claire pleads quietly, her composure cracking. No, Claire. Now, I insist. The public setting feels safer, somehow less intimate than the betrayals whispered behind closed doors. Tom takes the lead, his investigator mode on. Steve, right? I hear you've been making some interesting financial transactions lately. Care to share with the class? Steve's demeanor shifts, a flicker of annoyance crossing his features. I'm not sure who you are, but I don't discuss my finances with strangers. Maybe not finances then. Let's talk about Claire. What's your involvement with her? Tom's questions are like darts, sharp and direct. Steve glances at Claire, his expression inscrutable. Claire looks down, her hands clasped tight. Claire is a valued employee. Our relationship is strictly professional, Steve states, though his voice lacks conviction. That's not what it looks like from where we're standing, I challenge, feeling the weight of every betrayed emotion. Claire finally speaks, her voice small. Mark, please. Let's go somewhere private to talk about this. Her plea, her visible distress, it's all too much. I need answers, but the public confrontation is spiraling. I nod stiffly, and we agree to reconvene in a nearby park where the open space feels less suffocating. As we walk in silence to the park, Tom leans in. You okay? No. But I'm going to get to the bottom of this, I reply, the resolve hardening within me. The cool air does little to soothe the burn of betrayal, but it sharpens my focus. In the park, under the bare branches whispering in the wind, Claire starts to unravel the tale of half-truths and dangerous liaisons that would eventually cripple more than just our marriage. The park is quiet, the stark branches of the trees casting gnarled shadows across our path. Claire walks a few steps ahead, her shoulders hunched as if bracing against an invisible storm. Tom and I follow, each lost in our thoughts until we reach an isolated bench overlooking a pond, its surface mirroring the gray skies above. Sit down, Mark. Please, Claire urges, her voice barely above a whisper. She waits for us to sit before she begins, her eyes not meeting mine. Everything I've done, she starts, her voice faltering, was to protect us, to protect you. Protect us. I echo, incredulity sharpening my words. By lying. By cheating. She shakes her head, her hands wringing together. It's not that simple. Steve, he's involved in something. Something illegal. Money laundering, through the company. He threatened me, Mark. When I stumbled upon it, he threatened to hurt you if I didn't help him. I process her words, the weight of them sinking like stones in my stomach. Why didn't you tell me? I was scared. I thought I could handle it, get out somehow. Eric was a mistake. I was just so overwhelmed, and he was there, she admits, tears welling up. I never meant to hurt you. Tom interjects, his detective instincts peaking. We need to go to the police, Claire. With everything you know, we can protect you, and Mark. She nods, wiping her eyes. I know. I'm ready now. I'll testify, do whatever it takes. As we stand to leave, a figure approaches, Steve, his face hard and cold. I thought you might be here, he says, his voice menacing. Tom steps forward, his posture defensive. It's over, Steve. Claire is going to the police. Steve laughs, a chilling sound that echoes across the pond. I don't think so. Before anyone can react, another figure emerges from the trees. It's Eric, but unlike his usual demeanor, his face is resolute, his eyes steely. He holds up a phone, recording. I got everything, Steve. Your confession just now, Eric says, stepping beside Tom. Steve's arrogance falters, his eyes darting around as if looking for an escape. You're bluffing. No bluff, Eric continues. I've been gathering evidence against you for months. I knew about your schemes. Claire wasn't part of this. I wanted to prove that. Steve lunges towards Eric, but Tom is quicker. He tackles Steve to the ground, pinning him until the sound of sirens fills the air. Police emerge, quickly apprehending Steve as he shouts curses. Claire is sobbing, her body shaking. I wrap my arms around her, the anger subsiding into a protective instinct despite everything. It's going to be okay, I whisper, though I'm not sure who I'm trying to convince more, her or myself. As Steve is led away, Eric approaches, handing his phone to a police officer. I'm sorry for my part in this, Mark. I didn't know the full story. I hope you can forgive Claire, and maybe even me, someday. With Steve gone and the police taking statements, the world seems to stand still around us. Claire's betrayal, though less sinister than I feared, still hangs heavy between us. I don't know where we go from here, I admit to her as the police finish their questioning. We start with the truth, she says, meeting my gaze for the first time since the confrontation began. And we build from there. If you're willing. I nod, considering her words. The path to forgiveness seems long and uncertain, but with the truth laid bare, perhaps it's not entirely out of reach.